Hi, this is Sniz with Bloodbane, World 11. This is part 2 of my August 20th video log. I'm covering some military stuff that I've learned from my tests on World 10. So anyway, in the previous part I'd kind of covered some of the city construction and strategies and timing and whatnot. Again, just remember that everything I'm doing here I consider to be a bad idea for a long-term game, but it's great for gathering data and helping to prepare for our serious endgame war on World 11. So I figured I'd go ahead and just cover some of the reports of some of the bullying I've been doing over here. I do have to say, I think I might have said this in the last part, but this is pretty fun. It is something really, and it's going to be way more fun when it's hardcore, intense endgame stuff. But if in the meantime you're struggling a little bit with having the patience to wait it out, might want to go ahead and start a couple of cities on another world and build them up to a reasonable level and castle it up and kind of mess around a little bit. It's I think a horrible idea for us to do on 11, but on 10 or any other server, be kind of a fun way to let off some steam while you're waiting to be able to kill something on our world. But the long-term investment we're making on 11 makes it well worth the wait. So because this is just the tip of the iceberg for what's coming. Anyway, I thought I'd go ahead and cover a little bit of what I've done here. I started off doing a little plundering, just seeing what that worked out. Losses are fairly high with anybody who has reasonable defenses. Very few people have proper, looting protections, but I don't consider it at this stage to be a significant source of income. I'd actually rather raid in terms of the numbers than loot, plunder. Now there's a couple exceptions to that. If you had an inactive player near you that with a reasonably developed city, once you pound down their resources, then you can sit there and farm them. That's not a bad idea. But anybody who's going to sit there and keep building their defenses and start to make their adjustments, by the time when you first hit, they typically have a significant army. You take heavy losses. You really don't make anything, and then the other side of that is now if you were able to pound those defenses down and soak up the loot in the long term, that's great, but that's not what players are going to do. Active players are going to start to build more hideouts. They're going to build up their defenses. Now this is a great way to make it difficult for somebody to build a solid resource city. So in terms of a annoyance or a hindrance factor, it's a great tactic. But in terms of just for the sake of goods, it's really not that great. With a few exceptions, I do not see plundering as this huge source of income or anything that people should be looking forward to as, oh my god, I'm going to make tons when I plunder. Anyway, so, but I did a little just to get the data. Did a scout, see what a scout report looks like, and you get a list of what their buildings are. So when you send a group of scouts, I sent 211, none died. I got to get all of his army reports. I got to know how many buildings he had and what. I think scouting, though it tips your hand on the attack, and I've got some techniques I'm working on to minimize that issue. But scouting is possibly, I've conquered a couple of castles that it took more to rebuild than it would have taken to start a new city. So it may be a good way to decide if anyone's even worth conquering. But it's mostly for position and for fun right now. But in terms of scouting, it's got its pluses and minuses. It's nice to see. It's a good idea to see who's there, what they have there, how good of a player they may be. But it also lets them know that you could easily be coming. So anyway, let's see. So then I went ahead and attacked this guy who happened to be sitting on a shrine, tier 1 shrine position, right on a shrine I own. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and go to my B set, and I'll come out and give you an idea. This is the shrine. Those are all my cities, and this guy had a castle right there, so I decided I wanted that slot too, so he was my first victim. So basically, I started off with an assault. Now, an assault, if you'll notice on these plunder reports, losses to the enemy is very low. Your losses are fairly high, although I was doing a lot of this at night with night protection on, which is, I was just testing stuff out. But anyway, even during day attacks, your losses are fairly high. Their losses are fairly low. However, when you convert that to an assault, they take much heavier losses. In fact, especially if you have an overwhelming force. Now, Later, when you send a siege, well, I'll come back to that. But basically, that's an assault. They do come back with resources, and the enemy takes much heavier losses, which is key to the assault. Now, on a siege, what you do is you send a significant army. They have to travel all the way there, and then they attack once an hour every hour. You have your troops, so you're taking damages, and luckily I did not lose my Baron here, but the danger here is when they have active troops, a significant number of active troops, every hour there's a slight possibility that your Baron dies. If your Baron dies, the siege basically fails unless you double up, which is possibly something that may become a good policy to do if it's something that you care about. Because I sent scouts with this siege, I went ahead and got my info on there, on his buildings, and 37 farms, lol, 21 cottages, 30. You can just tell this guy does not know what he's doing. But anyway, so I got the building reports. Now, this is not resources gathered. This is resources spied. And anyway, so that's the basics. This was attack 1 of the siege. They lost troops. I lost troops. Now, this was not a person sitting there actively defending. But if this was a proper military city, what they would then be doing is, first of all, start producing these replacement troops once a second. So those 365 troops I killed, and in an hour that it takes me to come back, he's going to replace, the city itself can produce another 360 units. On top of that, now this guy actually is in a significant alliance. If he had another couple of cities nearby, military support cities that were not castled, he could send reinforcements to this location. His allies could send reinforcements. So my second wave and my third wave could have easily seen tens of thousands of troops if this guy was not A, sleeping, and B, had it going on. So anyway, in this case, he really didn't get a chance to do anything. Now you'll also notice that my power of claim increased from 0 to 9%. When that reaches 100%, you win. The key is to keep your units alive and your Baron alive until that reaches 100%. Now, during a night attack, this was right at the end of a night attack, that power of claim is slower, but during a day attack is 10% per hour. So it basically takes a 10-hour siege, a minimum, typically 11, 12, 13, because it bridges over some nighttime in there. So anyway, so this is 1 hour. An hour later, here I am. You can tell from, his end numbers here are his start numbers here. So as soon as I saw that second report, I know the guy wasn't actively doing anything, and it's just a matter of pounding those troops down. And I'm going to come back into, well, in fact, I do it a little bit later. But so basically, there's the second wave. My power of claim increases to 16%. There's the third wave. Claim increases to 22%. Fourth wave increases to 28. Next wave, his troops are dwindling down more and more, and my claims to 34%. In here, I kind of got the idea, well, wait a minute, I just need to send another assault. So I sent an assault force designed to kill a bunch of them. So during the the siege process, another set of units came in here, and their design is to just basically clear out more units, so I lose less and have less of a chance of my Baron dying. So anyway, then the next siege, claim to 40%, claim to 46%. I'm going to try to do this before this video ends, to 52%. Then another assault hits, and at this point, I've wiped them out. There's no more. In fact, looks like my last siege wave wiped out his troops. So at that point, now it's just a matter of time. So he has no troops. I go up to 58. No troops. I go up to 64. Just try to flip through. No troops up to 71. No troops up to 80. No troops to 90. And no troops to 100. And I got to the city. So there you go. That was my first conquer. I ended up with a crappy city that's going to take me more to rebuild than not, but I ended up getting a tier 1 shrine position with a castle, an unwatered castle, which is key. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and stop this video. I'm going to do at least a part 3, maybe a part 4.